I have tragic news for everyone. A lot of the online influencers, especially this last week, have been pushing garbage, and these are people I've looked up to for a long time. It is a bummer. I'm seeing a lot of people who have bought actually pretty significant portfolios. I'm watching their businesses fall apart. I'm seeing a bunch of posts saying cash flow is not real. Unfortunately, a lot of these figures are course providers. These are people who teach real estate, who've taught people for years how to buy things, and it turns out they all turn around and say, hey, you know that cash flow we've been talking about? It's a myth. It's not real. We've been buying for the last few years, and yeah, deals don't really cash flow. We're going to dispel that on today's episode. We're going to tell you how to do this. 3 steps to save your deals, what I believe all of them are doing wrong, and how you can avoid the same mistakes that they have. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name's Christian. I have bought hundreds of rental properties starting with $0, and guess what? My deal's cash flow. There is a strategy that works to buy deals, which is there's really 3 pieces. 1, you buy them where they cash flow day 1. 2, you buy them where they keep cash flowing. And 3, you have ample reserves. Here's what I think has happened. I have heard not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 major names in real estate. I won't throw them under the bus here, but major names in real estate over the past few weeks saying some iteration of, yeah, cash flow and deals, it's not real. Or, man, anyone who believes in cash flow is selling you a pipe dream. The amount of people I know who have retired off the cash flow real estate is insane. I have a podcast dedicated to real estate investors and owners, and I learned everything that I know how to do by interviewing owners who have already retired and achieved financial freedom through rental properties. This isn't through flips. This isn't through wholesaling. It isn't through any other active income. They have created passive income. Was it overnight? Absolutely not. But can you do this in 3, 5, 10 years? Absolutely. I'm going to tell you how to do it. So when I hear an online presence, there's big names. Some of them have been Bigger Pockets people. They've been on episodes of that. Some people have some of the larger podcasts out there. So, and I don't know anyone who cash flows. You can't start with rentals. Guys, here's how it works. If you want your deal to cash flow and it doesn't look like it's going to cash flow day 1, you have an option. You can borrow less money, which means you put more money down. Now that's a problem because if you start with no money like I did, that's pretty limiting. You can only put down money that you have, or you have to borrow it, which now comes at a cost. So is that going to be the way to fix your deals? Well, if you happen to have a high income job or you have the cash, yes, you could do it. If that's not you, move to step number 2. If you can't borrow less money, borrow cheaper money. Well, what do you mean cheaper money? Rates are rates. We talk about creative finance all the time. A lot of the people that I know who are talking about cash flow being a myth also do a lot of creative finance. They know how to play this game. Buy the deal where it is cash flow positive, where your income is greater than your expenses. Do the math to allocate for capital expenditures, for general maintenance, for property management, the whole 9 yards. Do conservative math so that you're not surprised and buy a deal that doesn't cash flow. And trust me, I've done it on small deals. It took a year or 2 to fix where we had to increase the income, but don't do those. Like, you learn really fast. Okay, conservative math, what does it look like? And if you don't know, work with someone who does know. There's a million great courses out there, great mentors, and there's people in your market who have already done the thing that you want to do. Ask them how to structure a deal. I promise there are a lot of people out there who have retired through real estate. Not all of them did that through a huge active income. A lot of us negotiated great terms on a deal. For myself, this was the main way I obtained financial freedom through real estate. I bought hundreds of rentals. I stabilized them, and every deal increased my cash flow, and I kept going until I hit my goal. It took me 3 years, and it was intense. And financial freedom's not all that easy. Otherwise, everyone could do it. It takes time, it takes effort, but it took me 3 years from really locked in on the creativity. I went, okay, if I can't borrow less money, I'm going to borrow an interest rate that works. Now, without getting into special clauses and other things you can do to help increase cash flow in the near term, your main thing is working on terms that work for your deals so that from the day you buy it, you don't have to inject more capital, which brings us to number 3. This is where I think a lot of the people go wrong. Majority of online influencers, when they explain their stance of cash flow isn't real, they're like, look it, you buy a deal, it spits out some money, but then something breaks, some money goes back in, and then it comes in, and then it goes out, and then it comes in, and then it goes out. And then they end up having to sell properties, flip or wholesale, property manage, start another company. They have to do something else for active income because they don't build a portfolio that can sustain itself and live off it. Like, you have to have it feed itself and pay you dividends. Not that it's easy to do, but you need to have a reserve. You budget. And your initial numbers have to include not just cash flow day 1, not just enough to do the down payment. has to be enough to buy the property and keep a healthy reserve. I found, especially in the first year of operations of a property, that's where you get the most surprises. That's where it's like, oh my gosh, we just found this busted pipe. Did the owners know about it prior? Maybe, maybe not. Doesn't matter now because it's my building. I've seen pipes fail. I've seen problems with roof. You see problems with tenants. That happens all the time. You didn't get to do your own screening on every single one of these tenants. You might get some tenants that are rougher than you wanted. I've had buildings where when they go to reapply, these tenants have credit scores of like 480. They've never made a bill payment on anything ever. And then it's amazing. Guess what happens? They stop paying their rent. These expenses are especially heavy on the front end. And if you are an inexperienced investor or you've bought a bunch of rentals in a short period of time, you may not have known the correct reserve. And you went, oh yeah, I saw someone online. Maybe even you saw me in a podcast saying like, yeah, creative finance. You can buy anything. You can buy anything. But if you don't budget and you don't have a reserve and your deal doesn't work with the reserve, guess what? It won't cash flow. And exactly what they say happens. The money will come in and then it will go back out to the property. You'll get the checks in and then the property will eat them up. If you have enough reserve, I've done this on a ton of deals. I know this works. A little bit of the reserve gets eaten away. And then the cash flow stabilizes and you get ahead of the problems. And now you have nice plumbing, great tenants, a nice roof. The unexpected bills go down, but the cash flow continues to come in. Many times I found that we overraised the reserve account. While our deal worked with that, I call my investors at the end of the year and say, guess what? You guys did a fantastic job funding this deal. I would like to give you guys a little bit of money out of the operating account and reduce the amount that we owe you in the future. There's excess money here. Let's try to balance the accounts a little bit. Here is some money back because we are overfunded. We made it through the first year. We're cash flowing. We're stable. We love the books. And I will actually lower the reserve. My target going in, if I have renovations, here's the rules. If you have renos, I want 2 times the amount of the reno budget saved and ready to go. That is a great start to a deal. If I'm like, okay, what is my budget to finish the project? 2 times that means I probably have enough in reserve to get it finished. Now, the other piece, what happens when we're stabilized? What's the right reserve? I think if you take all expenses for 3 months, if you go, hey, if I had no income, could I float this property for 3 months? That is a great metric for a healthy reserve. On a multifamily building, there is almost no way that you will have no income. However, we adjust for that. We go, hey, if that happened, I could survive 3 months while I fix the problem. Realistic, what happens if you have mass move outs or there's a more expensive bill, you have enough reserve to where it doesn't eat into your cash flow. You can then sideline a little bit of cash flow to regenerate that over time and keep that reserve nice and healthy. This is the easiest way to play the game. It's not that hard, but again, your options are first, if your deal's not cash flowing enough, borrow less money when you buy it, borrow cheaper money when you buy it, and always raise a reserve. If you do these things, you can buy deals that cash flow. You can reach financial freedom, and you can do it in 3, 5, 10 years. I've seen it done too many times. This is the way that it is done, and you can do it with or without starting capital. I hope this was helpful. I am really fired up about this because I've seen this online. I don't know why. I feel like everyone online decided, hey, we're going to talk about this right now. We've decided that cash flow isn't real because our portfolios aren't spitting out enough money anymore. Guys, I'm telling you, this is the way the game is played. Try it. Prove me wrong. Someone prove me wrong. If you disagree with me, post in the comments. If you agree, also post in the comments. If you watched all the way through, you have questions, let me know. Like, subscribe. We'll see you guys on the next episode.